This is Burke, and this is his roadmap to success, and he's a very handsome fella. We just got done chatting on the couch for a couple minutes. Basically, when I was called in, I mean, he's a puppy, yes. And that's something that you can actually do. Blowing in a puppy's nose, a lot of puppies really like. They find it very interesting. Some dogs hate it and they'll run away. He seemed to like it. I have a bunch of treats in his hand, so I'm keeping him here and keep him interested. But basically, one of the guardians in the house is having some health issues, and it's kind of taxing for the person. And as a result, the person's been taking care of themselves, which is appropriate. But puppies need a lot of time and attention. And the other guardian has spent more time with him, more engaging with him. And as a result, he's formed a stronger bond with that particular guardian. And it's a little bit frustrating, I'm sure, for the guardian who's having some issues. And so during the session, we went over some things that she can do to actually help the dog feel a little bit better, more comfortable with her, and bond with her. So one of the things that we did was, I can't remember the official name of the exercise, but basically what we want to do is teach the dog looking at the human's face is a rewarding activity. So we had a clicker, and we had some of these high-value train treats. Now, because he's so small, we cut the treats in half. What we do is toss a treat behind the dog. And so just a couple feet from me, and the dog would go get the treat, and he'd turn around and look at the human. As soon as he looked at the human's face, we clicked and then threw another treat behind it. You want to do this with about 8 to 15 treats. It's just a real simple exercise, and it just teaches the dog looking at the human in the face is rewarding. After a while, the dog starts looking at the human for suggestions to help figure out different things along those lines. I'm going to let you chew on this one a little bits. And so it's a nice, very easy thing. The guardian might end up having spent some time not very mobile. And if that's the case, it'd be a good exercise. It would be very easy to accomplish. Let me see. We also, in the video above, I showed how to teach a dog to sit pretty, lay down, sit up, and stand. And so I'd recommend the guardian, one of the guardians is going to have a procedure done. Before that happens, to try to spend a couple times a day, maybe just 1 minute each time we do this. And just, you want to try to do the circuit. First you get him to sit, then touch his nose, go straight down. I won't articulate, it's all in the video. But try to do the circuit. So sit and then down, and then, but have the treats ready to go. So as soon as he sits, you got another treat ready to go, and keep the touching his nose or really close to his nose. Lead him down. Once he's down, pull another one real quick. Do a sit up, then pull your hand away and do a stand, and of course do the sit pretty whenever he gives you that. I think if the guardian spends 2 or 3 minutes a day doing that for the rest of this week, and spends a couple 2 or 3 times a day does the treat throwing exercise, within a couple of days he's really going to be a lot more amicable and more interested in following her around, because she's my treat angel. Whenever she's around, treats fall from the sky. One of the other things we talked about was setting up a puppy playpen. If you go to my website on doggoneproblems.com, I created one for my puppy quest. I have a whole section called Quest Ed, where it's a whole bunch of puppy training tips. I will never get another puppy without setting up a puppy playroom. And so we scouted out a location, I think in the basement, that will work really well. It gets him a little bit further away. It's a finished basement. And that way, if he does cry or whimper, which he's going to do for a couple nights when he first goes in there, but it gives him more room than a kennel. And he's had a couple accidents in the kennel, and we really want to avoid that. So it's one of the most difficult problems to solve. And for puppies, he's really at an age where he cannot hold his bladder overnight anyways. So we have to get up and let him out. Well, that's not very convenient. So if we have the puppy playroom set up, and it's, again, do it against the corner so that he can't move it or anchor it a little bit if you need to. I'll give you that one for Crash. Then basically we have a place where we can put him, and he can run around and play with some toys if he wants to, instead of just being in the kennel. The kennel doesn't afford him any ability to do anything else. And if he has to have a bowel movement, he can get up and go and somewhere else in the playroom, and then go back and play in the other parts of the play area. Now, wherever he goes the first time, because he will have an accident in there, it's not really an accident, and it won't impact his potty training, really. I spent some time going over potty training tips. Make sure you say the word, though, when he's outside pottying within 3 seconds of him starting. Always have a treat with you, and 3 seconds of him finishing, that treat goes in his mouth, and he hears the word a second time. But if the first time he has an accident in the puppy playroom, put down the puppy pad after you clean it up in that same location. Usually they will continue to go in the same location. Now, when you set it up, I would put his kennel inside the puppy playpen. Now, the kennel that they have here, actually we have a plastic one, I thought, or like a wire one. I saw both. The kennel to put in the puppy playpen should be the wire one. And you can attach the puppy playpen to either sides of it, and so it's not inside. It really makes the room a little bit bigger. And make sure that you put that on the side that's closest to the stairs, so the doorway would open away from the stairs. Dogs typically will potty as far away from their nest as possible. So because we come down the stairs, if we have the kennel on the far side of that playpen, he's probably going to poop in between the kennel and where the people are going to arrive, and he might step in his urine or his feces. So if we position the kennel on the stair side, hopefully he'll potty on the other side. And again, use the puppy pads, and if he has an accident there, don't worry about it. Just clean it up and keep on trucking. Now, let me see. What else did we go over? Well, the green spot is, I left a card for the green spot. Go in there, that'll give you $5 off. Get a marrow bone. You'll get a package of them. Get 1/2 inch or 1 inch marrow bones. And the first couple times you put them in there, get in the kennel, in the play area with him, and pull out a marrow bone. Now, when you pull the marrow bone out of the fridge, or the freezer, keep it in the freezer, let it sit for about 10 minutes before you take it out. It'll be too frozen. He won't be that interested. Marrow bones are really, really very interesting, appealing to dogs. So what you do is you take him in, put him in there, just step over yourself, and again, make sure he always walks in through the doorway. Never lift him over it. And once he goes in there, pet him a little bit, and then grab a magazine or something, pillow, lean back. Kind of ignore him once he gets in the marrow bone, and let him really get into it. Once he gets into it, he's really engrossed in it, then get up and try to walk out and just try to sit just right outside the kennel. I mean, like with the gate right here, or the door, the playpen right there. So it's super close. He's like, okay, he's here, and I'm eating this, and now he's having a practice and have a positive experience in there with you sitting right outside the puppy playpen. And then when you need to leave, don't leave him in there. The first couple times, you want to help him practice this and gradually immerse him in there. So once he kind of stops engaging with the marrow bone, then open the gate, let him come out, take him outside, and make sure let him go potty. And then, keep him in your lap or do whatever else you want to do. And then just practice again a little bit later on that day. So the first day, I'd like to have you practice him being in there without sleeping in there about three or more times, where you're hanging out with him. And wait for him to settle down, sit before you get up and get outside the kennel. And each time you want to be progressively a little bit further and further away. Just so progressive. Eventually, we're sitting on the couch, and he's still comfortable sitting in there eating his marrow bone. Now, we can set him up for success for this. He goes to Dogtopia, our favorite dog store, or dog daycare. So the first 3 or 4 days that he's going to be sleeping in there, he should be at Dogtopia during the day. So that way he's worn out. He's there at least 8 hours. Pick him up as late as you can, and then we bring him home. Try to prevent him from sleeping too much. Practice going in the kennel like I just describing, or the playpen area. And then he should be fed in there as well. I left a treat dispensing toy. It's the Omega ball. Let me know if that one is too big, and I could bring you a smaller one, and I have a couple other ones that he also can try. But that will take longer for him to eat, and again, he's eating in that puppy play area. He's sleeping in the puppy play area. He's hanging out in the puppy play area with marrow bones. We're trying to create positive associations with him so he feels comfortable in there. Now, the kennel door should be wired open, and the only soft place in the whole area should be inside the kennel. This will kennel train him. Also, because he has to practice, or he's in there by himself, sometimes with the humans in the room, unless he's protesting, then we would not be in the room. But basically, he's going to practice being by himself. My dog at 5 months old could be fine out in the living room. He doesn't chew on any appropriate things. And yes, you're getting a little bit rough on my fingertip there. I only have one left, so I can't give you the rest. But basically, he just practices being alone, which will help avoid the separation anxiety that's starting to develop. Now, he should have a lot of toys in there. I get a couple other treat dispensing toys. If you need others, let me know. I can hook you up with a couple others. But he also should have other toys. I like my dog to have about 15 to 20 toys in the designated play area. We call it enrichment. And then basically have another about 10 or 15 toys outside of the play area. And each day, pull one of the toys out of the play area, put it in a box, and then grab for the end of the box another toy and put it back in. So you have a rotation going on. That'll make the toys last a little bit longer. Now, when he gets all really rambunctious, remember we should interpret that as he needs more exercise. A dog needs about 45 minutes of exercise a day on an average basis. He's a higher energy dog, so he's probably going to need more than that. Now, we pulled out the laser and used the laser, and that worked for him for a little bit. Now, for the laser, a couple things. And I'll go ahead and put this on. Yes. So if I turn it on, let's see if I can do it. So if you're looking at it, you can see the laser here. If the dog looks up and sees it here, he'll think it jumped off the floor and went here, and he'll stop looking on the floor. So make sure you take your finger off anytime he looks up at you. Also, this motion all of a sudden becomes associated with the laser. So every once in a while, pick it up and just go like this without turning it on. Also, click it on and off several times without turning it on, so we disassociate both of those things from him. You're going to hang out with me here for a little bit more, buddy. So this is, especially late at night, this is a great way to run him around your backyard. He has the zoomies. He runs out there on his own. But if he gets really rambunctious, that should be you should interpret that as him saying, I need some exercise. I need, now you're just being rambunctious. I need to go play zooms out in the backyard. I need to run up and down the stairs. I need to play fetch. I need to chase a laser or whatever it is. Now for the stairs, he doesn't like going up or down the stairs. He's a little guy. It's easier for dogs to go upstairs than it is for go downstairs. What we're going to do is when we're going downstairs, and so we need to hang out in the downstairs area at least a little bit because that's going to be where his playroom is. We want to practice being in there. So start practicing that while you're ordering the play gate so he just gets used to being down there. Where was I going with that? Oh, for the stairs. So when you're going down the stairs, stop like on the fourth step and leave him on the fourth step and continue walking down the stairs yourself. He'll, if it's only 2 or 3 steps, it's easier for him to go down. And eventually, then you do the 5th step, 6th step, 7th. Eventually, he's going down all the way down the whole thing. Same thing going up. Now, at up, it's easier for him actually to go down. Usually for dogs, it's easier to go up, but he likes going down easier. So when you're going up the stairs, stop and leave him on the first step down. Then after a while, the 2nd step and the 3rd step. Eventually, we want to practice going up 1 step at a time, 2 steps, and 3. And eventually, he'll be able to go up and down the stairs without any problems. Now, he does play a little bit rambunctiously with, we have a senior dog in the house. And so when he's playing with her a little too rambunctiously, that should be interpreted as, hey, we need to take him outside for little zoomies or playing fetch or whatever it is. Now, I'd like to see him in our puppy class because I think him playing with other puppies will really be beneficial. And basically, the other thing we do is we kind of help our puppy guardians connect with each other. So you can also do that without using us. But if you see anybody who's got a little dog that's a high energy dog that lives in your neighborhood, see if you can set up a puppy play or a play date. That's a great way for him to burn some excess energy. It's much more efficient than us. Let me see what else. Yes. Try to pet him under his chin whenever possible. Avoid patting on top of the head. Dogs, when they feel good, they raise their nose in the air. And so especially if we're petting him with a purpose or passive training, pet him under his chin. We want to feel good about sitting, coming, or laying down. Now, I went over passive training with the Guardians, which is probably the easiest way to train any dog, which is just simply recognizing the dog when it offers a behavior that we want. So every time he comes to you, pet him and say, come. Every time he sits down, pet him and say, sit. Remember, do it within that 3-second window. Every time he lays down, pet him and say, crash. Every time he grumbles, say grumble. But the more commands that we can come up with, the more self-esteem that he has. And I really like to see the Guardian that he's not as fond of as the other Guardian, because I know he's fond of both of you. But I would like to see her doing some training with him. Now, she's going to be a little bit unavailable for a short period of time, but we have a lifetime to teach him stuff. But the more that we teach him, the more deeper a bond that he's going to have. Now, we have a couple of days before the procedure, so we really like to have you, I articulated at the beginning of this, doing 3 times a day for those things. I'd really like to see you doing it more often than that. The more that you do it, especially because you're going to be a little bit banged up. And so do as much as you can before then. Now, oh, buddy. Make sure that when we're feeding him, we're only feeding him right now once a day. We'd like to try to feed him 3 times a day if possible. If that's not convenient, at least twice a day. Feed him out of the treat dispensing toy. And like I said, let me know if he has problems with it. I have some others I can loan you. And then make sure that whoever's feeding him should eat something first. Just a chip or a cracker, something in 5 or more bites is all it takes. Now, I'd also like the Guardian to go through his food, have the Guardian he's not is as loving towards that he will be, and take a little bit, a handful of food, and put it in a Ziploc bag. Do that little by little, and so that way he actually has to eat, and he smells her scent. Now, something else you can actually do that just occurred to me now with the light bulb is a little hand feeding. So there's nothing wrong with feeding him out of your hand. Again, you're providing a substance and a nourishment that he really needs. That will really help him with that. Bond with you a little bit more. So let me see, what else? Rules, whenever possible. Go ahead and just pass it over. There we go, that'll work. All right. Teamwork.
That makes the dream work.
There we go. I'm looking for a partner trying to do that for me. No girl's crazy enough to take the phone for me. I'm still too single. So one of the things, once he knows how to sit, we'd really like to ask him. Now, this is an example of what the Guardian goes through. When the Guardian who was filming this left, he's now very interested in that Guardian. So now what I'm doing is I'm trying to distract him with the treat, but you can see at this point he's focusing, he's looking and watched him going there. One of the things that we did do is when he had to use the bathroom is we actually practiced sit a little bit, and it was completely distracted. So remember, whenever that's possible, if you can time it out before he gets up and leaves, start practicing the sit. And again, once, get a couple sits in, and then or whatever the exercise is, and then once he goes away, you'll have to hold the dog for a second and then immediately go back to it and then try to distract the dog and have him engaging with the guardian while his primary guardian, or he thinks his primary guardian is somewhere else. Now, I think the more activities and engagement that she has with him, it's not going to be as much of the case of him trying to get the squirms and trying to run away. But we got to start doing some fun stuff with him while we can. So do as much as you can before you actually need to go in for your procedure. Yes. Now, sometimes changing the environment also can help. So maybe taking him downstairs and practicing there. If he's got to go, leave. Do that so he goes downstairs and he's just used to going downstairs, and we're going to be fed downstairs. We're going to practice. Then he comes back upstairs. Is that him? Mm-hmm. Yes. There we go. We'll redirect you with a little bit of this. And it's just nice way. Yeah. And when he whimpers like that, she comes over.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't like respond very well to it.
Okay. Well, the whimpering is kind of a cry. And
yeah.
Yes. And, so he doesn't have separation anxiety yet. He has the beginnings of it. Mm-hmm. And the puppy playroom will really help with that. Again, remember, he should sleep in there. He should be fed in there. He should be there, spend some time. But also, he needs time to run around in the backyard. So when he gets zoomies or gets really uncomfortable, he doesn't want to sit with you, take him outside and spend a couple minutes with him outside and wait for him to get himself run out and then come back. Or you can use the laser, like I was doing earlier. Where is it? Let's see if we can distract you with the laser.
Okay, good.
While Dad's preoccupied. I don't think this is doing it right now. There, well, maybe a little bit. So I don't want to let him go because I don't want him to run over there right now. Yes, I understand. Now, a couple of things that dogs are not big fans of. We like to hug really tightly. Dogs are not big fans of that. They can learn to tolerate it, but they're not big fans of it. Also, we like to stick our face next to dogs. Mm-hmm. Dogs only do that when they're really apologizing or being aggressive or being tender. And so sometimes it's a little bit inappropriate, or apologizing. So sometimes it's a little bit inappropriate for us to always stick our head there. Make a list of the command words and specifically use one version of the command. Don't say good or go or bad. Just say the command word. Good. So for passive training, every time the dog does any desirable action, we're going to pet him within 3 seconds and say sit or come or whatever it is. Once he knows these commands, when he jumps up and scratches at us, instead of petting him, tell him to sit. When he sits, pet him under his chin. Say the word sit only. And then you can pet him for an hour or however much you want to after that. But the idea is to make him earn his affection, and that will help him have a little bit more respect for the guardians as authority figures, and also that it helps him practice desired actions and behaviors. We talked about feeding. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else we went over? If you want to do the focus exercise, I started showing it downstairs. He didn't have the attention span for it because he's a puppy. But let me know if you want to do that, and I can send you a video that shows you how to do that. Now, when you're walking him, try to avoid pulling him on the leash. Dogs have an opposition reflex, and you can create a lifetime of pulling. So if we do get to that point and you want to teach him to walk with a loose leash, let me know. We can set up either an in-home session, or we have a 301 class that specifically focuses on that. But he's a higher energy dog, but he's a little dog. So the running around the backyard is sufficient, but we probably would like to walk around. This is a nice neighborhood. It's a very dog-friendly neighborhood. And also, the more socialization we get him, the more confident he's going to be.
She's in her kennel.
She's in there whimpering?
She's sitting in her kennel.
Oh, she's sitting in the kennel. She's trying to get away from you. Come up with fun command words. So every time I go in the kennel, to make a dog like to go in the kennel, what I do is I toss treats. I'm going to have more treats here for you. Let's see if we can distract you with some of these. Oh, yes. Somebody's very interested now suddenly. The smell of food is the most important thing for the dog. So, I caught you. I got you, buddy. I got you. Yes. All right. So this is a little move that I was talking about earlier. The guardian, he likes to wiggle. So what I do is I'm hooking my finger in the collar, and then I can kind of hold him. I have a little bit more leeway. Collar is a little bit tight right now. You should always be able to get about 2 fingers under the collar. Right now I've got one and it's a little bit tight. We don't want him to escape, and if he does escape on collars, let me know. There's a martingale collar I can hook you guys up with. That'll be nice and relaxed unless he tries to pull on the leash. Now, he's on a leash a lot inside. We'd like him to be on the leash a little bit less and have more free time. If he's chewing on the leash, get a chain leash so that we can actually ask him, it'll stop him from chewing on it. And then for petting with a purpose. Once he knows how to sit or lay down or whatever it is, and you want to pet him or he jumps up, always ask him to do something first and then reward him after he does it. That'll help create a healthy, what I call leader-follower dynamic. Well, this is Burke. He went to Burke. No, he didn't go to Burke, but his guardians did. I got a lot of Burke friends. And so you're named after a pretty good school buddy. Well, this is Burke, and this is his roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog. Only sometimes you mean it.
Yeah. No, she's
right, buddy?
Yeah.